You're listening to From a Certain Point Askew, the only Star Wars podcast to do giveaways just for listening. The only podcast. Thanks for subscribing and listening. I'm Jason the Angry Ginger Jedi Guy, broadcasting live from inside Wookiee Poo Studios. On the screens, we've got Mike. On the screens on his mic, we've got Matt.
Lavorn's here?
Yeah. He's sitting across from me right now working on images for our YouTube channel.
There you go. Is that your introduction for me? Is that all I get? Okay.
I said Matt.
Okay, just making sure.
Darth Mathias!
You checked every other single Star Wars podcast, because you never say a statement without being 100% sure it's true.
Right. That's 60% true.
No other one is doing a giveaway. No other one does that.
Almost positive.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there's been a podcast once that tried to pass off like beach sand as Tatooine sand. That was it though. Didn't go anywhere. They're defunct now.
They went under. Yeah, I was just thinking about it when I was firing all this stuff up. I was thinking, God, what are we going to talk about for the next few months? It's kind of sad. I mean, I know we have other stuff to come.
We're going to have to get to know each other.
We are. Get real.
Yeah.
But it kind of sucks that, we're going to have this big gap between active shows, whether that's live action or animation. And because you're not going to get me to watch Young Jedi Tales, and I know you're not going to do it either. They just announced they're coming out with more episodes in November. I'm like, come on,
Well,
that's not what I mean.
We could watch it. What are they, like fucking 10-minute episodes?
What, are we going to hate watch it?
Yeah.
Oh, we could. We'll see. There is also the Halloween shorts dropped, so I'm sure those are good too.
I haven't watched any of there's a Lego Halloween one, right?
There's one that was a full-on like Lego special that was a Halloween, but this year I think they just did some shorts they've dropped, and I think they've dropped them already. I haven't taken a look. They're very short. Anyway, if you would like to find our show, the only one that does giveaways in the entire world, we're on acertainpointaskew.com. We're on Twitter at FACPA Pod, and you can email us. And hey, while there's no shows going on, fire off some emails. We could use some cues. FACPApod@gmail.com.
Our listeners can be our content.
That's right.
On the show, we've got a question of the week: Ahsoka season 2 opening scene. Then we're gonna go to Ahsoka season review and season 2 predictions. And then in the Maul Bag, we've got one email. I'm disappointed, but I'm gonna let it slide because we also have something in the FACPA Answering Machine.
Right, it's a combo.
Right? Yeah, we're gonna play OK Stop with our friend.
That's right.
Yeah, and then we're gonna do what we talked about at the front of the show. We're gonna do a giveaway for our listeners. So I gotta, I gotta get my emulator up here, my card or my number counter, right? And then at the end of the show, we're gonna be giving you, the listener, some goods.
That's right. So, question of the week. Only got a couple answers this week, and that's okay. Sometimes, people are busy. We get it.
Mm-hmm.
Shirley. Don't call me Shirley. Surely we get a season 2 of Ahsoka. What's the opening scene of the first episode? Ty from 2 on 3 says, let's hope it's these two, referring to Sabine and Ahsoka, acknowledging that Sabine's series of poor choices led to a complete undoing of Ezra's sacrifice in Rebels, because honestly, I'm pretty mad about how this ended up. So much promise, so few meaningful outcomes, the best character won't even be back. Oh.
Elaborate on this.
What do you so like? Who's he referring to as the best character, or what is he upset about?
I'm guessing he means Baylan.
I think he means Baylan.
Not really his fault,
unless he's talking about Elsbeth. But I think he means Baylan, and it's not his fault.
Mm-hmm.
He was a big Rebels fan, and I know he watched it with his daughters, and he even made mention to me at one point about how I think it was even to our account, how his daughters were not happy with the way Ezra looked because they're used to seeing him as an adolescent, and they're like, "Who is this man?"
Oh. Yeah, he grew up a lot faster than they did.
I think so. So I think in the end he saw this as like, oh, there's a lot of great options of where this series can go, and maybe wasn't happy with the way it went. But so what does RFB always say? Tell me a story.
Yeah.
You don't have to accept it, but that's what he says. We're gonna get into this when we get into the Ahsoka review, as far as like how people might have taken the decision that Sabine made, knowing the threat of Thrawn. Because if you don't have the backstory on that relationship and what she's going through, you might be like, what a fucking idiot. You know what I mean?
Right, but he says he's pretty mad about it, and he has all of that information.
He does. Well, maybe we need to have him on.
I'm curious, yeah, really, because I'm wondering what makes him mad. The fact that, like, I mean, he sacrificed everything, took off, went to a planet, and she had no choice but to get there the way that she did, right?
Yes.
That's his problem, maybe. Like he's looking for a whole rewrite of that story.
Could be. It sparked something in me. It made me think, we like to do certain types of segments that, kind of keep us going when we don't have active shows. One of them is the FACPA breakdown, which I want to do more of those, where we kind of break down a scene, really get really nitty gritty on it. Maybe we have a new one that's something along the lines of like, give us your gripe. And we bring a guest on the show. They complain about some series or show or movie or whatever. And we either try to defend it or we just go, you know what, you're right. And pile on. So there you go, Ty. You're invited back to the show to get
dust off the microphone.
Gripes with the Ahsoka show. Let's see. So the next up is the Max Rebo experience. It starts, talking about that opening scene, it starts with Baylan's skull facing away from the camera. Something startles him, and he falls off the father's finger to his apparent doom. Oh, God. When we return to Baylan, he has bandages covering his face, and he complains about a lack of in-network plastic surgeons in the new galaxy. Oh, there you go. There's the way you switch to the new actor.
Yeah. Well, I had thought about, did we talk about it on the show with basically they just come back with a mask, right? But we still have to get to the point, like, why? Unless there's like some kind of time jump or something,
Right, but if you're gonna use a mask or something like that, then what are you gonna alter his voice to? Because if you start using AI to make his voice, you're kind of a dick.
Well, unless
and probably not legal.
Maybe he called up Lucasfilm and he's like, "Look, I'm not feeling really well. If this strike goes the way that I think it's gonna, I just give you permission to use my likeness now."
He had that foresight.
Yeah.
So they found a written will that said, you can go ahead and use my voice.
It's just, not to his family or anything. It's just written to Lucasfilm.
Right.
And oddly, it matches Kathleen Kennedy's penmanship.
Yeah, deathbed whisper that she was only there to hear.
Right.
No, he told me. Come in closer. I'm going to tell you something. Since we only had a couple questions of the week answers, I thought, is there anything you wanted to throw out or I could throw out as far as like what we would like to see in that opening scene of season 2, which we expect to get? I can throw out one that I thought of that was really dumb.
Okay, give me one.
Okay. So I was thinking that it's Senator Giono.
Oh boy.
And he's on a bender in Canto Bight, drunk on spotchka. Wanders down to the fathier track, those horse things.
And he gets fucking ran over.
Gets run over by a stampede of fathiers, and then the camera pans over, and you see Chopper holding like the bolt that opens the stable, and he's just laughing.
Oh,
title
nice.
card.
Yes, I want that opening.
And then everybody's like, "Oh, he's dead." They just wanted to show us he's dead, and now they can move on.
What an odd way to open up Ahsoka season 2. But I'm here for it. I like this. I like the tie-in. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to go with something just like that you'd never seen before. Like it just opens up and, maybe like Ahsoka's having like a naughty dream with her and Baylan just going at it.
Oh, shit.
Like sex in Star Wars,
And she wakes up sweating like, oh, my God.
Mm-hmm. She's like, God, I can't wait to see him again. And we all know that she never will.
But she sees him with a different face because it's the new actor.
Yeah.
That's how they transition it.
There we go.
Or they could do the transition where maybe they just show one little quick shot of him, and it's almost like the Hunt for Red October when they switch from them speaking Russian to English. They do that little casual switch over. Yeah. It'll be that. All of a sudden, it's a new face. Like he opens the mirror for the medicine cabinet. He looks in the mirror and he opens up the mirror to get something out. When he closes it, it's a new actor. Boom.
Yeah, it's his face, and he's getting shaving cream out. And when he puts it back and he's clean shaven, it's a different face.
We got it.
Yeah.
There's your Clooney.
What's the Wet Hot American Summer? You ever watch those? There's the movie.
I never saw it. I've heard it's funny as fuck.
They are hilarious. But so there's the movie that's supposed to take place in the 80s that was made in what, 2000s, early 2000s?
Uh-huh.
And then they made
a prequel.
Well, the prequel series, and there was also a sequel series.
Oh, was there too? Okay.
Something like that. But the prequel series, they couldn't get Bradley Cooper back because he was busy doing something. So his character was played by, was it like Dan Marino or not the football, the comedian guy?
Ken Marino?
Ken Marino. Ken Marino?
Yeah.
I think it was him.
Yeah, Ken.
And the line was he got a nose job. So that's it.
There it is. That's all you need
tossed
to
it
do.
away with one line of
Well, that works with the Max Rebo thing, with the Max Rebo concept of he could find a good plastic surgeon on Peridea.
Yep.
Well, all right. Well, thank you for sending in your questions. You got entries right at the nick of time.
Yeah.
We do not have. I scoured around looking for stuff.
I
There was
hope
no
you win
real
the Darksaber.
major news. Yeah.
Imagine a world where the power of the Death Star meets the convenience of contraception. Introducing the new morning after pill, Contracepti-Sith. Now infused with state-of-the-art nanobot technology straight from a galaxy far, far away. In a universe filled with surprises and the occasional unexpected romance, know that you can trust Contracepti-Sith to shield you from the unexpected. Just swallow one pill and know that your uterus will be carpet-bombed like the night of 1,000 tears. Not even midichlorians could force a pregnancy on you after striking back with Contracepti-Sith.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
Use Contracepti-Sith with caution. Always consult your Jedi Master or healthcare provider before use. Legal disclaimer. The Morning After Pill Contracepti-Sith is a fictional product for comedic purposes only. It is not a real contraceptive or endorsed by Disney and/or Lucasfilm, though Turo Calican is waiting with bated breath. So please, no more cease and desist memos.
There was no real major news this week, so we can move right into our Ahsoka kind of review. So there's a lot of questions I threw out here and items I threw on the doc. We can just kind of go through them one by one and provide our deep insights into what we think is going on here or what happened. And the first one was really kind of in the did it work kind of frame.
Right.
And I want to start with the question that Ro threw out from Scare of Scuttlebutt podcast. When we did our preview back in August, he said, like, will the series and all these characters land the same way for casual fans as those of us who know the deeper backstory and have watched the animated series? Because that was his concern, was like, is it going to make sense to people and hit with them, or are these people going to be like confused? Because I've seen a number of articles where people have complained about like it almost requires a working knowledge of the past, the Clone Wars and the Rebels series. For you to really understand what's going on. Otherwise, you're a bit confused. Like somebody even referenced like how it almost feels like we're coming in the middle of the story, not at the beginning. Now, granted, A New Hope is literally in the middle of the story.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
But in this, I think what their argument was that they were saying you're coming into the middle of the story with less build into who these characters are. I mean, I think they tried to do that, but I think certainly if you don't know some of these things, some of the biggest moment or some of the big moments as far as like the reunions and stuff aren't going to hit as hard for you because you weren't around and stewing in their relationship before.
But I think through lines of dialogue, you get the sense of like how long they've been apart or why they're doing what they're doing. But I was curious about that too. But I've seen the opposite. I've seen people on Twitter talk, because I've seen this question go out quite a bit. And, like people will answer with, I saw someone say they watched it with their wife who was not really much of a Star Wars fan, but watched it with him. And they got it and went along and didn't really necessarily say they needed any backstory.
Okay.
I would like to think that it works both ways. Like it's strong enough to work on its own, but having all of the backstory and knowledge, for us who've done it, gone through it all, obviously it works better.
Of course, it's always going to work better because we have that knowledge, but it's just more a matter of, the bridge between how good is it for somebody who doesn't know it? Or maybe just, they would know like probably Anakin, of course, they would know a few characters,
right? But
they wouldn't necessarily, maybe some of them don't even really know Ahsoka other than they just got this glimpse of her and Mando and thought, oh, okay.
Exactly.
So that was, and that's kind of it. And I think, and as I referenced it before, I think it's one of those where if you don't have the full context of the Sabine Ezra relationship, what he went through, what they went through together, do you come away feeling like, why would you fucking take this risk to allow this horrible monster to come back into the known galaxy and jeopardize everything else just for the sake of you wanting to see your old friend again. That
Mhm.
I could see where people would get hung up on that. Like,
Yeah.
why is she doing this? You know, like what's the motivation here? And why does she feel like that's her only move?
It was never mentioned in the series why or how Thrawn and Ezra ended up on the other galaxy, right? Peridea.
You're right.
They never
I don't
really
think so.
said anything about the two of them were together and he used the fucking space whales, you know, locked them down and they took off. It was like, we don't have that story. So I think in one of these questions we'll get to, but one of the things I think the series could have used was a little bit more flashbacks, you know, showing the backstory to a couple of things.
Yeah, you're right. Because not knowing about that whole thing with the Purgles, one, you have no idea what's going on when the Purgles show up. I mean, granted,
Right.
they kind of show you what's happening and you get the full taste of it, but you don't understand how that ties back to how we got here in the beginning anyway. So I don't know. I think, like you said, I think it just depends on the person. Some people are going to be like, what the fuck is going on? I don't understand this. But other people are going to get the clues that they're throwing out there through
Right.
exposition or through just subtle, moments to go, okay, this obviously these people have a tie, like a deep tie. Because, she's watching the Hollow videos. She's clearly like hung up on finding her friend. Obviously, it means something
Sure.
to Hera because she
Yeah.
talks about it. It means a little something to Ahsoka, but not as much until they actually meet back up. But yeah, I don't know. I could see where if you were not aware of all this stuff, you might be a little confused.
Right, but I like kudos to Dave Filoni for continuing his story and not like going back and taking, because it could have been the other way, right? It could have been like he just kept having to do backstory and kept having to show all these things.
Yeah, too much.
Like you're not really moving the story forward because you're showing so much of what had happened before. And like if you want to know what happened before, it's fucking out there,
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
And visually, did bringing Star Wars Rebels to live action work? And I'm thinking like the characters that we saw, Thrawn, Chopper, Hera, Sabine, like all those people. Because when I think about it, I think about how certain things looked amazing. So like I thought Lothal looked fantastic, especially
Yes.
for those of us who saw the animated series. I mean, even just that road from the communications tower into
Yes.
town looked so awesome. Later, we get like a quick shot of Dathomir, which I'm real excited to see in season 2
Yeah.
and how they play that out because we haven't really seen that in live action. We got to see Corellia again, which I kind of forgot about till I looked back at the season. I was like, oh, that's right, we went to
Right.
Corellia.
Yeah.
And I think they always do a good job showing Coruscant. So I think visually, the transition was pretty damn good. And part of that, a big part of that, is making sure Thrawn worked, and I think he did.
I was thinking the one thing they didn't do though is they should have did the one shot. Like, have you ever seen the Firefly movie, Serenity? No.
No.
You ever watch Firefly?
I didn't watch that show.
Oh my God, you're missing out. One of the best.
I know
shows ever.
there's so many shows
Yeah.
I've missed, Jay.
But it's 14 episodes. It
I
would
guess
kill
I
you to
got
go through
time.
it.
I got time now.
There's there's a scene in the movie where they built the whole ship, so they do a walkthrough as they're having a conversation. So you actually get to like experience like where everything is placed and how
Oh.
they move through the ship and everything. And we didn't get that with the Ghost. We got a little
Yeah,
bit with
you're
Ahsoka's
right.
ship, but we didn't see. All we saw, if I recall, is just the cockpit, right?
I don't think we saw any other part of that ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and we saw a bit of the Phantom, the secondary
Right.
ship, the dinghy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the dinghy.
But you're right. We didn't see much more of that because I mean that was something I think we always thought about until maybe the toy came out. Was when you think about watching the original trilogy and you think about what's the configuration here of the Falcon? Like where are they sitting
Yes.
around the chess table? Where like all those different things, you're kind of trying to figure out how they all fit together. And I think that, like I said, I think having the toy helped because you could kind of get a
Or
better
even-
idea of where everything was.
Even in the Book of Boba Fett, we got to see the inside of how Slave One
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah. No, that was cool because I think everybody didn't understand that. And watching them sit in that space and everything rotating around them,
Yeah.
that was
Yep.
pretty sweet. I thought the space battles were really good.
Yes.
I mean, I thought that was kind of a highlight of the show. I mean, the other thing I also want to not forget to mention is I think Kiner did such a great job with the music that it really helped the show land because he just does such a good job.
I agree. It's almost so close to John Williams that you don't recognize it. It's just there. Where like I think the big thing with the Mandalorian was it was so different.
Mm-hmm.
It got all this, you know, everyone noticed it right away, and there was a lot of talk about it. But yeah, it kind of deserves. And you know, I mean, he's been doing Star Wars music for what, since the Clone Wars.
Clone Wars, right? And so that's the thing is you get the guy who has the history with the animated series now doing live action stuff. It just worked really well.
Yeah, I mean, the more I look back at this, there's way more good with this series than there is bad, and it's kind of, you know, I see people pretty upset with things, but I think it needed a few more episodes. And I know there was struggle with pacing, but I think they could have broadened out the story, but also tightened it up with a few more episodes. And that's like one of the things Disney seems to be afraid, like, here's your budget, you can only make this many episodes. And I think they need to let go of that a little bit, because though I think the strongest element to this series was Filoni's writing.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think if you add two episodes maybe is enough, but like which episode was it? Was it episode 6 or 7? It might have been 7. Maybe once they get to Ezra, there was a lot they were trying to throw into a fairly short period of time. That could have been a 2-part episode to build to that finale, and I think it would have been better. Yeah, I mean, of course, we're always gonna ask for more episodes of more content, but at the same time, in this case, it really would have worked because of the fact that you're trying to bridge that gap between people who have not really seen the show and people who have all this history. Nobody who has seen, and at least I would think, nobody who's seen Clone Wars and Rebels and who is a fan of it is going to be upset that you made more episodes laying out the the foundation of all this stuff. I think everybody be on board for it because you're getting to see all the stuff you saw in animation and live action. You're on board. Which
it's really weird. I can see from like a business perspective, like Disney were like, okay, we don't know if Ahsoka's going to work. You're going to bring these Rebels characters into live action. You know, maybe they're a little weary on let's see what happens. But by the end of it, or what the middle of it, they announced, you know, there's going to be a movie as well, possibly a second season. So there must be confidence in it.
Yeah.
So I could see like a shorter season, but maybe, or the second season. And that's another thing is like the gripe is like, we didn't get everything in the first season. Well, this story isn't, I mean, it technically has been being told for over 10 years now. You know, we didn't get everything in the Clone Wars. That's why Rebels was made. And now we're not getting everything because it ended. So now we're getting the Ahsoka series. So, like, kind of let's have patience and see what happens here.
Yeah, I think for me, it's less about accomplishing more, whatever, like having more play out completely in this season. It's more just letting us sit and kind of get into these characters a little bit more than what they did. In some cases, they did. There's certain parts, especially early in the season, where they... Like there's scenes where you're like, they're really taking their time with this one. But then later it just seems the pace picks up so fast that you're almost kind of losing. I think you're missing out on the opportunity to really see who these characters are and what they've been up to and all that kind of stuff and have conversations and things like that. Obviously could have done more with Baylan and Shin, in my opinion, but maybe they were just thinking, we're going to save that for season 2. I don't know.
Also, was there ever a reference? I mean, I know she's like once a rebel, always a rebel or something, but there was never anything actually like inferred that these characters all spent time together as like a family.
Well, you knew, let me think. So I mean, all of it is kind of implied. I'm not sure how many references they specifically made to like Sabine and Ahsoka. Well, because Ahsoka was only with them for a short time. Sabine and Hera, however, is that relationship like understood that they were together for that many years and working together? Not necessarily. I guess it's more just that they know each other well. It doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily know that they were together that long.
And that's where I think, and I think I have an answer somewhere in there, but I think that's where I think some backstory. Like there should have been like where they did. I think they did a really good job. And the problem is I think budget and volume when they did the World Between Worlds and Anakin and Ahsoka and going back into things. That could have been a little bit more detailed and drawn out to really get like how close Anakin and Ahsoka were. But they could have done that as well for like the Rebels crew.
That's true. Yes, that whole sequence with Anakin and Ahsoka is like 15 minutes? It's not that long. Yeah. It goes pretty fast. And you certainly could have done more with that. I mean, I don't want them to abuse that space, but at the same time, I think they could have done more. On the Sabine-Ahsoka relationship front, there's obviously a lot going on plot-wise throughout the season, but one of the main, focuses is that relationship and where it is now, what happened, why it got frayed, all that kind of stuff. And as much as Ahsoka's name is on the door, it's really a split co-starring situation. Like Sabine is the second star, and it's in a huge role. I mean, at times I think people are even like, shit, is this show about Sabine or is it about Ahsoka? Because it really focuses on Sabine a lot. But let's talk about it. Are you okay with the fact that Sabine has, that Force sensitivity? And
absolutely. There's for I can see people who don't have the backstory, maybe a little bit of struggle, but even then, like, you've always got to have that story. That's one of the Star Wars go-tos, right? Is you've got to have the apprentice, you've got to have the one who's learning, the struggles with it, whatever the issue. And this works for Ahsoka because, like, what would you have if she wasn't, right? I mean, as a master or someone, she doesn't look at herself as a Jedi, or what does she look? But you need to have like that builds her character, right? There's character growth for her and for Sabine. Because what else were you going to do with her? Just like have her tag along because she's a cool Mandalorian? Like there's history with her, kind of dabbling with it. So
yeah,
it doesn't bother me. And I guess what bothers me more, and you had me at a really good spot last week. I was looking to fight last week. Yell at the fucking internet. But the people who have this huge fucking problem with her, like even in the 8th fucking episode, finally being able to use the Force good enough to pull a lightsaber to her. Like, to me, that's not, oh my God, she's fully powered. That was just like, she's able to do that, There were people had a problem with that and the Force push I saw the other day. Someone was like, well, she wouldn't be able to do such a good job. She didn't. He barely fucking made it.
Right. Yeah.
Like, she
you're
gave
right.
him a good shove, but he still fucking had to hang on to pull himself up. Like, she didn't land him on there perfectly, and he like fucking turned around and gave her a thumbs up. Like,
well, right. And I think, yes, that was the gripe I heard was, okay, so she just figured out she finally is able to pull off some sort of Force pull. So she immediately goes into, now I can chuck this guy all the way up to this, ship. It kind of plays with how Rebels was. They were fucking flying by the seat of their pants the whole way. So it wasn't, I mean, they were taking risks left and right. So for them to be like, look, we have no choice. You've got to get on that ship. This is it. Kind of make or break. Run and jump, and I'll fucking do my best to push you there. And you're right. She doesn't quite get him there. I think, you're showing that she can't do it at first. You're showing that she doesn't have the skills yet. She's training like a motherfucker. And it's not really until she has kind of trust and belief in herself and gets past this kind of mental crutch before she can finally embrace it. And that's why I think you see the most growth is her and Ahsoka, not just between each other, but also overall their characters.
Yeah, there
is. And it's
is.
because they both kind of move on. They both let go of things. Ahsoka finally, gets past the whole like Anakin thing, or at least comes to peace with it. And then it changes her outlook on how she should interact with Sabine. And Sabine, I think, finally realizes, okay, I need to stop holding this grudge against Ahsoka. And if I can stop listening to Hu Yang dogging me every 5 fucking seconds, maybe I am capable of these things and I can actually let go and do it. So I think that made sense.
Well, I think her finding Ezra also adds another layer.
Sure.
She's not angry or blocked up or, worried about that anymore. That's, cleared her mind. And also, I mean, they've known each other for so long, there's almost a trust immediately. He doesn't have any qualms with trying to trust her to use the Force.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Yeah, so I think if you made it so that she was this, completely turned into an all-powerful Jedi like that, then yes, that doesn't work. But just having her say like, fuck it, let's try it. I'm just going to try to Force push you. That's totally in line with what we saw in the animated series of that kind of cavalier attitude that they had toward everything they did.
Yes, I agree.
Let's talk World Between Worlds. Or was it in Ahsoka's head? We still have a difference of opinion on this. So we obviously went over this before, but since we've had a little separation, now we can kind of think about it a little bit more. I still think that it was in her head. And the only thing that I'm trying to determine is Anakin presenting himself. Is that her memory of Anakin, or is he literally using the Force to reach out and he's somehow in her mind and they have these conversations and blah, blah, blah? Because there's something about the way they presented it, even though it looks like the World Between Worlds, but the stuff that happens in it, and I know it's live action, it's whatever, it's animation, live action. You can kind of alter how the thing works based on this is the new property. But like that's not really how the world between world works or worked before, as far as like literally dropping into a flashback where you're cognizant in your old body, cognizant of where you are and the fact that this is like you looking back. And Anakin knows that too. That's not really how the world between worlds worked before. It was jumping into a portal to the actual event. You know what I mean? So to me, it feels like she had a near-death experience. Her mind went to what kind of felt like the world between worlds. She had this interaction with Anakin to kind of get over this stuff in her own mind, and then that released her to go forward, and it wasn't actually the world between worlds. But you still think it is, right?
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think I'm right. I think she died or was dying because he says that line, like she's either got to take this lesson and figure it out, or she doesn't go back. And then when she does go back, she's in the water, she's floating, she kind of comes to life, right? And then they rescue her. So to me, because she has the daughter in her, right? Her spirit. I think that allows her access into the world between worlds differently than anyone else. She's almost like the Purgle whales or the wolves on Lothal, right?
I see what you're saying.
I think she can mentally access it. She's not aware of it. Or if it's the death thing that does it, and then she goes back.
It could be. Because originally, I thought when we saw it happen, just the end of that episode, we just saw Anakin show up. I was thinking, okay, he pulled her out. Like he pulled her into the world between worlds. And I was convinced at that point that this is the old Anakin. He found the world between worlds. We weren't made aware of it during the Clone Wars or just after the Clone Wars. And he saw this portal, saw her falling off this cliff and fucking grabbed her and yanked her back. Right. But once I saw the next episode, I thought, I don't think he
pulled her. I think she just entered it.
Okay. Because it felt like this was, I know Jason was like hearing things when he was like sensing stuff, but I feel like that's just him connecting with Ahsoka, who was, body and mind was close by. But I still struggle to make that feel like that actually was the world between worlds. Not that I guess it matters in the end, but to me it feels like it wasn't quite that. I feel like a lot of the stuff was happening in her head. Did you have anything else on World Between Worlds?
No.
Okay.
Other than you're wrong and I'm right.
Let's talk favorite or least favorite new characters. And one of the things about this show that I liked a lot was the villains. And I think, especially Baylan and Shin, which like I said before, I really wish we would have got more time with them. I think there was a sense of urgency in your mind as a viewer knowing Ray Stevenson's ultimate fate. Like you want to see more of him while he's around. Yeah. And so that was something that I think I kind of struggled with. And even like the whole Elsbeth thing and meeting the Night Sisters who were creepy as fuck. Like, and then of course we get Thrawn. All of that stuff. Like when we went away from the villains for an episode, which was the episode with the world between worlds, quote unquote, we didn't see them for the whole episode. And it was like, I kind of missed them. I was like, what the fuck are they up to? And so it happened a little bit with Andor at times where I loved Andor, but there was like times where they would go away and we wouldn't see the Empire stuff happening as much. And I was like, fuck, I want to know what's happening with that. And so maybe there's just this bad seed in me that always wants to know what the bad guys are up to. I don't know, but I just thought the villains
they're so interesting, right? And I think that's the thing that like Star Wars really succeeds with. Like all of the villains, all of the good villains, they don't get much screen time, and we want more.
True.
Look at the myth of Boba Fett. Like he was a fucking second tier character that said like 4 things, and there was for years everyone thought he was the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah. Or Vader in A New Hope.
Much screen time. Yeah. Like it's just, and now these guys, but they're all, I love, like looking back, they're all written differently. They all have great lines of dialogue, and they're all pushing this new story forward, which is very brave of Filoni we're getting a completely new like mythology for at least new watchers, right? And we think we're getting what we know of Mortis and all that, but I think there's going to be things involved with that nobody really sees, or it's going to be kind of a shade of what we're all thinking, but different, and that's the exciting part for me is like, we don't know what's going to happen next.
Right. And opening these things up and expanding the whatever, the not the playing field, but you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like how some people get mad about certain things with the Force. Like, why all of a sudden can Rey heal somebody? That's not something people could do with the Force. It's like, well, it's a skill that maybe you haven't seen before, haven't been had access to.
Yeah.
So it's okay to do new things. We don't have to stay in this little box that George created in the very first episode or very first movie, and there's no expansion of it at all. So you're right. I do think that expanding it out, seeing the unknown galaxy or whatever that we've never seen before, that's a whole new place. All that stuff I think is great.
Planet surrounded by dead whale bones, like dead whales, their carcasses. Right. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. And so I think the villains there's something about them that we don't know any of their motivations necessarily. I mean, I still was trying to figure out kind of what is Elsbeth's end goal. Is it just because she's so devoted to Dathomir and the Night Sisters that she's trying to help Thrawn? Because in the end, she says Dathomir. She's a little uncomfortable. You don't know what Baylan's up to, for a long chunk of time. We still don't 100% know what he's doing. Shin feels like a little bit easier to peg down just because she's clearly just kind of following her master, but now she's a little bit lost. So you're varying motivations trying to figure out exactly what everybody's after. Whereas with the good guys, it's like they're literally saying it out loud what their motivation is, so you know.
Right, but there are lines of dialogue that really make you think, kind of like Luthen's whole speech, right? Like some of the stuff that Baylan says, so you're like, really, like what is he after? The same with Thrawn. Going back and looking at a few things and the way that they say things, they're saying something without saying it, and that's like, we'll get into that a little bit when you move a little further down, but that's but the slower burn I'm okay with. Like I'm enjoying this. Like, what are they up to? What are we going to get next season?
Yeah, right. And then we had who was your least
favorite character?
Well, I mean, isn't everybody Xiono?
Yeah.
Well, before we get into Xiono, while we're talking about villains, Marek. In the end, is it disappointing because you see this character built up as this Inquisitor and blah blah blah, but in the end,
but he was built up. He was built up because of the audience.
Right, I think that's probably true.
Yeah, there's nothing. They didn't do anything different with him than they haven't done with other characters. Everyone thought was sweet, like fucking Darth Maul. We thought was awesome, and they killed him off. Not.
Well, then they were like, hold on, that guy was pretty cool.
Right, but then you go back to animation and they bring him back to life, and you get this whole story out of him and everything. Yeah. But Boba Fett, another one, cool. Mm-hmm. He get killed off right away. So Merrick was like, okay, we kind of get the idea of the Inquisitor, but I think that was more so just to show us a tease of like, oh wait, he was powered by something other than his own life force.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Well, we could talk about Xiono here, and because I mean that's kind of the other big plot in this series that they kind of dabbled in, went in and out of, was just the whole New Republic thing, and. Mary Elizabeth Winstead was great as Hera. I thought she nailed it. Yes. I thought it was really good. I think that, you get to see your gal Mon back in action, which you're never going to be disappointed with.
God, never. What a star.
Xiono was just this shithead, and it's one of those where it's like it's important to show a character like that because you get to see why the New Republic kind of fucks itself, and the mess of the bureaucracy that slows stuff down. Sometimes it's necessary, and you see how it reins in some of the loose behavior of the rebels and what because they're used to fighting a rebellion, fighting a war, so governing is different. And the books get into this a ton. The Aftermath books, Heir to the Empire, all they do is get into that stuff. So to have that character who's kind of the shithead made sense. But man, is he just tough to deal with.
I'm glad he's written the way that he is because I would hate to like this character. Because I hate his fucking son. Because of
his lineage?
Yes. Can't stand him.
I did also like the fact that we got to see Hera basically dress him down. That was pretty fucking sweet when she was like, like, oh, you were basically profiting off the war before, right? And he was just like, ooh.
And you can tell it's sort of like Mom Mothma's, like, these are things that she wants to say, but she's trying to play her political, but she doesn't really slap her on the wrist for saying it. She even gets like a little smile. She's like, oh, good. Finally, someone says something.
Right. Because she can't take the massive stand. She always has to kind of play all angles because I think she feels like she's the steadying force in the middle. And if she starts really going hard on one side,
she doesn't want to be Palpatine.
Yes, right. And she is a true believer in the democratic process and thinks that everybody should have a say and it should all work. So, respect. Yep. I'd like to say hopefully Xiono dies in season 2, but we know that's not going to happen because it's not going to happen until he's there basically all the way up to the Rise of Skywalker, unfortunately, unless they change that. Something else I was going to mention too that we got. Star Wars always just nails it when it comes to like introducing new clever droids, and they did it again. Even though we got Hu Yang in Clone Wars, it was just a taste. So to see him in live action and his fucking sassiness, I thought his character was so good. I mean, it's in like, look at what we've had in whatever, like in the sequels we had, BB-8. Even though you couldn't hear him and you couldn't understand what he was saying, he still kind of had this attitude to him, a lot of personality.
Yes.
You had K2SO, you had L3 and Solo, you had IG-11 and Mando. So they just continue to fucking deliver when it comes to droids.
They do, yeah. I mean, they fucking dropped the ball when they first started it with fucking C-3PO, but everything else has been a success since.
I mean,
what about who's our favorite droid in the Bad Batch? What's his name?
Not
Easy.
Oh yeah. What is his name? Easy something. It's
something.
Easy is what they call him.
Yeah. I love that.
Yes, he's
droid.
great. He's a fucking hero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, never gets the respect he should. But I wanted to point that out because I feel like they almost always hit it with the droids. They're almost always great.
Yeah.
How I threw on their cameos. I mean, would you call Anakin a cameo, or is it more than a cameo? Because he's around for a bit, but like he is certainly one.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what do they call that? I think there's a term for like more than a cameo, but yeah, he's. But that's
Super
definitely that was the favorite out of all of them. Like that but it has to do a lot. Well, first of all, Hayden Christensen fucking nails it. Like, for anybody who bitches about his acting before, and we've talked about, there was disagreements between the way he wanted to do it and Lucas had him do it, but when he plays the Vader stuff, or I mean, he even goes back to playing like Clone Wars type Anakin that we're familiar with from the cartoon, more so than the movies, right? But visually, just seeing him move, how fucking like good he is with the lightsaber and how fast and aggressive, man. And we talked about this last week, and I because you see him in that whole episode, right? Then you see the training videos. You see him at the end of the series, spoiler alert, looking on. And that's another thing that makes me think that the world between worlds, he's watching her. I also think that line of dialogue, "Didn't plan on seeing you so soon," I think that's going to come back somewhere.
Yeah, see, well, and that's why that made more sense to me. My original thought when before we got that full episode was she had just left the Order, and then he's in World Between Worlds and pulls her out.
Right.
That's what made sense to me. Obviously, that's not really what it was, but yeah, I think we might see more into that. I think it's a combination of things. I think it's one, you don't have, no offense, George, the shitty dialogue that he had to deal with, especially in the second episode. Like the Attack of the Clones is pretty tough. The dialogue is pretty bad. And so he has to just try to get around that. He was an incredibly young actor doing that. Now he's way more comfortable in his own skin and with the character, and so grateful to be back and involved. You're right. I think he has a good commanding performance, especially the more evil he is, the more he pulls it off. So yeah, it was great to see him back, because I had my issues with the prequels. I mean, I've come to appreciate them more and more as I have had a podcast and watched more of this stuff. But so I have much more appreciation for him now. But to see him back on the screen, and you're right, like he literally looks like the best person wielding a fake lightsaber ever. Like he's the one who knows how to do it the best.
Now, I'm going to break all your brains here.
Uh-oh.
What if, for the heir of the Empire, instead of cloning Luke 2 U's, they clone Anakin 2 Eyes? Because he's young enough. He's young enough where he could still play the character, right? They don't have to de-age him or do anything. Not Hamill, where they bring a stunt double and throw on deepfake on him and everything. So I'm wondering if maybe if they go that route, because there's appendages laying around somewhere, they could clone Anakin pretty easily.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe he becomes Sabauth.
Yeah.
That's another thing we'll have to get into later. But yeah, I don't know if they would do that, and I don't know if I want that. I kind of like how they're just giving us tastes of him here and there.
Yeah.
If you reintroduced him as a full-on clone of himself or whatever and made him a main character, I don't know if I don't know if I'd want that or not. I mean, I'd certainly be up for them trying it, but I don't know if I want that. Would you want that? Would you like to see him
because I
in
like
that role?
seeing the character, I would like to see something a little different. That'd be interesting.
But does it take away the fact that he's now the clone of himself and now it's a totally different character? Is that going to be kind of, I don't know.
I don't know. It would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The duality of the chosen one, and is this clone who's brought back to life? Like, is he? Does he carry that on? Does he have that lineage as well? That legacy? I think it'd be fun to play with.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is a very speculative episode for us,
Sure.
kind of throwing out stuff and going over stuff. So this is the episode usually that gets picked up by Lucasfilm and they start going to the whiteboard,
Yep.
going
They're
to
like,
storyboards.
oh yeah, where are the ideas? Let's write them all down. There are no bad ideas in FACPA.
Dave, I know you're on a plane right now, scribbling on your cocktail napkin ideas and drawing pictures. So this is our. We don't even need a writing credit. Just come on the show.
They're going to introduce Starkiller, but it's going to be Anakin under the helmet.
As far as other cameos, I mean, I know, despite Anthony Daniels being a bit of a wanker all the time, seeing him show up and drop a Leia reference was kind of cool because when you see C-3PO, you think like it takes you back to, to the original kind of Star Wars feelings. Seeing Rex was cool, even though it was just very, very brief. Getting that voice, that was kind of awesome. Even the Ryder Azadi thing, maybe the fact that they've got the voice actor doing it, but seeing Clancy do Ryder Azadi and Lethal, even though it was a silly little scene, I thought that was awesome. He looked just like what that was brought over well from the animation. So I thought that was kind of cool as well. I had here favorite scenes or moments, anything that sticks out to you as far as hell, for me, right from the jump, the opening scene, watching Baylan and Shin flying on that ship and just start fucking kicking ass like that, and it kind of having that A New Hope vibe to it. I love that opening scene. That grabbed me right from the jump.
Now, we was the ship that Ezra shows up at the end, was that Baylan's ship? Did he steal that ship?
It looks a lot like it. I'm thinking it is because it was on the Chimera. Unless they have a bunch of those ships lying around. I think that was his ship. Yeah,
why wouldn't it be? Because they took off on the fucking horse dog rat faces.
Right,
so
exactly.
the ship was still on there. So I think that's what he stole. Seeing Lothal in live action was one of my favorite things. It worked so well. The highway chasing, and I think a lot of it, nostalgia, right? You just immediately you go back to like everything you saw in Rebels, and you saw that damn road a lot in Rebels.
You did. Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, the introduction of Sabine in that sequence, seeing Lethal, seeing her ride on that road, seeing how she's in kind of this state of like, I don't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. Like getting a real good picture of where her mind is.
Very fitting for her.
Yeah, I thought so. From the saber fights, I talked about how some of the saber fights felt a little mechanical, but I thought the Shin Sabine fights were great because it just felt like raw. Like Shin is just fighting with pure instincts. It feels like, and Sabine's like trying to hold her off the best she can. And I thought that really worked. Those two fighting. I did see
someone compare the saber fights like in The Force Awakens compared to the show, at least that fight, the one you're referring to. And to me, it's like you're going off of a TV budget with probably less. You can't shoot the same way. So yeah, like I get it. Like you want that cinematic feeling and cameras everywhere, and it does add intensity, the close-ups and the takeaways and all that. But I think we talked about that last time, was allowing myself to like kind of forgive the fact that these aren't movies. They got big budgets. They're making 8-hour TV shows, and I don't think they're doing a terrible job. They're working with what they have. It's fucking amazing. Like we're getting this content. So I have to limit my wants or my gripes because it could be so much better. But it's going to be what it is because they're making TV.
This is going to be the fault of anybody who's a super fan or a podcaster covering Star Wars. You get the magnifying glass out and you start looking for everything. If you let the edges dull a little bit, I don't think you get caught up in that minutia.
Agreed.
So I think that's important. I get the people making comparisons to The Force Awakens because it was a similar setup. You got untrained. Well, first it's Finn and then it's Rey fighting, and these are people who are not trained with lightsabers trying to fight. So I get the parallel there. But I don't know. I just thought that those scenes worked. I thought the first Baylan Ahsoka fight was better than the second, and I thought it was pretty damn sweet. Mm-hmm. I thought probably the best fight in the end, I thought, was the Ahsoka Elsbeth fight. Those two fucking hammering on each other was really great.
Yeah.
And you end with a nice double slice. So it was a good result in the end. Thrawn's introduction and all those troopers, thought that was pretty fucking sweet. Like they're all chanting his name, Thrawn,
Yes.
Thrawn. And
the
him
music.
walking out and that voice, hearing that voice for the first time, I thought that was a big moment. I felt like even that Enoch character, was kind of cool looking. I don't know if he's going to turn into like a Phasma type person. It just kind of looks cool, but doesn't really do a whole lot. But I did like the introduction of him. And then I think probably the other thing I was going to say is I really like the love scene between Mon and Leia. It was kind of surprising, but very hot. Oh, wait.
Whoa.
Did you not see that scene?
I got to go back.
It's a mid-credits scene.
In fact, I have to leave the show now. Yeah. It's I have all these thoughts running through my head right now.
I know.
They're both in slave Leia bikinis.
That's not Mon style, but I get what you're saying.
Well, she does what she needs to do for the love of her life.
That's right. She's very, she can work with a lot of different people in a lot of different situations.
She comes off very, government and repressed, but you shut the doors in the bedroom. So that's why she doesn't get along with Perrin. He's like, these robes will never come off.
Oh, that fucking guy. I always forget about him. We could go deep on the Mortis thing. I just wanted to touch on it briefly.
Yeah, because you wrote more on Mortis. I wasn't sure if you meant Peridea, or you were talking just the backstory that we know from the Clone Wars.
It's kind of more like what's going on here with the statues and him looking off in the distance. Is that the whatever we called it, not I almost said mortuary, monastery, not mortuary.
Yeah.
Of Mortis, but because we talked about how I made mention to say, is this like literally the living embodiment of that Mortis place that they went to that didn't exist in time because it has a similar feel to it and look to it.
Right.
We also, of course, got into the whole thing of wondering if is Ahsoka the daughter? Is Anakin the father? Is Baylan the brother or someone else? And I don't know. When it comes to all this Mortis stuff, I'm not going to lie. I struggle to put my finger on exactly all that it means because it's pretty open-ended.
Yeah, it is. And from last week, I was trying to figure out who is who and whether they're supposed to be representing the new version of it. I think we're wrong there. Although we might get that, but I don't think that's the story. I still think the story is the whatever the power is, right? The Baylan's after something. I saw, was it a tweet? I don't remember what it was, but someone was like saying that Baylan is the new balance because he's on the Father's hand. And I'm like, no, he's on the Father's hand because he can walk out like a fucking bridge and stare out. I don't think he's the balance, But I think that's the importance of Anakin being back. I think we're going to see more of him because I think he is. I think that's why he's in the world between worlds. The son went after him and all that. And, the chosen one kind of says, even in death, right? He needs to be, you're the one supposed to bring balance to the Force. Mm-hmm. I think he does. And Ahsoka is some form of the daughter. I don't think Baylan, I don't know a lot about was it a Legends story where everyone keeps talking about, what's her name? Abeloth?
Oh, I don't know this.
So I guess there's a story that goes back, and Luke, it's with Skywalker and everything, but it's the Mortis gods, and then there was a mortal woman who became like part of the family, but she would be mortal, so she wanted to become immortal to be one of them, to stay with them for life, because she became like a mother figure to the son and the daughter, and I don't know if there was anything intimate with the father or not, but she goes mad, crazy, whatever happens, and they bury her. They put her away, and that's what some people are saying is the mortuary. Like, it's not that. It's really like they're pointing like, don't fucking go there. Like, that's the bad spot. So if they awaken her, she has to have a body to go into, which will be Shin.
Oh.
And some of this ties into the same type of story of their characters in like with Ragnarok, the destruction of the world and everything. So, but that would then you're creating like the story moves on. So you still got the Mortis stuff, right? But it's not like they're trying to make the three gods and then they'll just end. Like then you've got trouble happening. And then that goes on to like why the fucking witches are leaving. What is everyone afraid of? So like I'm like, okay, maybe they will introduce some version of that character or something.
So a lot of things there. One being, it's certainly, Thrawn wants to get the fuck out of there for a reason. And the Night Sisters seem to be on board with that, although they are a little put off when he blows up the fortress. But
Right.
so this is the stepmother. It's not the mother. This is the stepmother that is the mortal woman that is now buried off in the distance. And they're like, you know what? Let's build a statue that points to the place to not go. That's right. Not a good mentality.
Beware. The daughter was holding a sign, but that's been chipped off the mountain years ago.
It should be the two hands of the father going, no.
Yeah.
Or pointing in the complete opposite direction.
Right, yeah.
I didn't think about having the mother or the father, the son, the daughter, and the stepmother. That is fantastic.
Right. So, and I don't know, I don't know if they're going to pull from that, but I do like, because it fits the idea of some of the dialogue they're saying, where they're letting you know, without letting you know, there is some type of threat there, right? And the idea, because he's looking for knowledge, he's looking, Baylan, right? So he's not looking to fucking like, now I'm still on board with there's a fucking world between worlds entrance there. Okay. And that's possibly like how they'll get home or how they can move things or whatever. So it's going to work for like all characters involved and how they fuck off back to the real galaxy. Yeah. But putting that threat out, and because he has a line of dialogue, Baylan, when he says to Shin, no, your purpose is for something else. And she, she's not quite aware.
Well, he says very mixed things to her, because he's saying how he like not raised her, but like trained her to be something more than just some Jedi. Then he says, your path lies in a different direction. So if he has these big plans for her to be something, but then is like, your path is different than mine. Good luck. Go be a part of your empire. I don't know that whole sequence seemed kind of odd to me. You're right, though. He's not after power. He said it. Mm-hmm. Although he does say more power than you could possibly imagine. But I think he's doing that to motivate her. I don't think that's really what he wants. Right. I think, if he does, he's just specifically talking about the Force, I think. I don't think he's talking about like dominating the galaxy. I think he's talking about he's sick of watching all this bullshit play out. He wants to be in this other position. Maybe it is to control it so that shit doesn't happen again. But it's out of the realm of the Sith v Jedi thing. Like it's more all up Force. I don't know. See, I could feel like we just talk ourselves into circles with this shit because it's so vague, and it's trying to figure out exactly, where it's going. It's difficult. And I don't know that if you're Filoni, you ever want, even if you feel like you have the grasp of exactly what this is, I don't know that you ever want to reveal all that. I think you kind of want to leave it, a bit nebulous. Well, and I've thought a lot about your Ezra as a plant theory. Just like up at night, shitting on the toilet, whatever. I'm constantly like, Jay, what do you put in my... No. So you had thrown out like, is he working with Thrawn or whatever? Is he actually kind of gone bad? We don't know what he's been doing the last 10 years. That's kind of fishy. Right. It's not really touched on exactly what was going on there. So since we're having fun, what if Ezra is the brother?
Yeah. Well, okay, so that kind of feeds into what I wanted to bring up. And maybe not that, but he's been corrupted. But he's still Ezra. Like, I think that's the thing, but there's...
But is he the one calling to Baylan?
No, I don't think he's the one calling Baylan. No. I think Baylan thinks he's being called by one of the Mortis folks, right? Like, I think there's going to be deception there. That's what I'm thinking. And that's what it has to do with whether it's fucking Abeloth or what the hell was her name? Abeloth. Whether it's her or whatever ends up being this dark entity that's there that's been around for a long time. I think that's what's tricking him.
Okay.
But as far as Ezra, there's nothing, and I've looked back at it. I've looked for it. There's nothing, there's not even a wink or a something, as far as I can tell, that shows that Ezra is not who he is. But to me, it's not as interesting if there's nothing. Like he just, stuck around, found his turtle people, and, remained happy until he was going to be saved. I think there's something else that happens. And there's a line of, when Thrawn says you would gamble the fate of your galaxy on that belief, when he says that to Sabine, he's not talking about him. Like he's the threat. He was talking about Ezra, I think.
Oh, I see.
Because she's so sure, like, she's going to go fight, everything is going to be good. Because his response was when they were talking about Ezra, that's what he says. And that changes like everything then. Because he's basically saying, you want to take Ezra back to your galaxy. You're going to gamble that like you're sure, because Thrawn, so far we've not seen Thrawn. He's not doing anything that's evil or bad. He's looking to survive and go home. And he's, to him, the Empire is good for whatever, like he doesn't, I don't see, you're never the villain of your own story, right? I don't think Thrawn
Sure.
sees himself that way. He sees himself as like he's a survivor. He's a fucking military person. Like these are fucking rebel scum. These are they're the terrorists. Like they did a really good job in Andor showing like the gray side of things, right? And I think that's sort of how he sees these things, But yeah, it doesn't make any fucking sense for Thrawn to just go back and sign back up. What he's up to or what's going on, I don't know, but there's something there, because you don't kill, if those are fucking stormtrooper tags, you got to have something a little sick in your head to start fucking making a vest out of them and wear them as like a war, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
He's really proud of this thing. It wasn't so he could have a little fucking, in case he gets shot at, a little chainmail.
If that's what those are. I
Right,
mean,
right.
you like that theory, but yeah, I just, when I thought about it, I thought if Ezra is under he's doing some evil here.
Mm-hmm.
I thought maybe he was the one only for the end goal. Maybe he was the one reaching out to Baylan to drive him. Elsbeth is being reached out to by the Night Sisters. They're doing it, kind of in cahoots perhaps with Thrawn. This is a bit of a jump, because you drag everybody to the unknown regions and then you go the other place, and now you've just weakened the galaxy, made it much easier to do whatever you want to do there by taking these people out, and now you're back. So it's a pretty cool trick to pull those people out and then go and be like, bye, and then go and back to the known galaxy, and then now you can kind of do whatever you want because you have less resistance.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Wow, I think it would be very, very interesting if they go the evil Ezra route.
There's something there. Yeah, I think that, and maybe he doesn't know. Like maybe he's, he's just got like he's got a little symbiote riding piggyback on him right now. He's the host and is not aware of it. I don't know.
Not Watto. What was it? Was it Watto? Was in Total Recall? What was the thing that was in?
Oh, Quado. Yeah, he's got Quado living inside of him.
Quado.
Yeah.
That's his name.
That's why
Quado's
he's got
the guy.
The metal, the chainmail's holding it in from fucking bursting out.
Oh man, I have it down here. Like, what would we like to have seen? Was there anything that you? I mean, we talked about like letting us kind of sit with the characters a little bit longer, getting more episodes, things like that. Are there other things you wanted to see, like more sex scenes with Mon and Leia, or something else?
Yeah, definitely more of that. Yeah. I think it just. I really liked this show. Like, I don't think it was perfect or any. I mean, there's faults and stuff, but for the most part, I think Filoni succeeded. Like, I mean, there's a lot there, and there's a lot to work with, and makes me excited for what's to come. But I think maybe a couple of flashbacks just to fill in the spots for both, to kind of fill in the spots for what they're doing. Hey, as a reminder, or for people who have no idea. Because when we went into this, we thought there would be quite a bit. Actually, we thought that's what the episode of The World Between Worlds would be, was like, oh, look at this. You kind of get your answers.
Right.
And I guess they could still do that in the next one. But I'm interested to see how this fleshes out. And I love speculation, and it doesn't bother me when I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think he did a good job of getting you in this space as a build toward next season and his movie. Mm-hmm. So I think he succeeded in that for sure. I would have liked to have seen more scenes with Baylan and Shin. I'm sure there's a reason he didn't want to show them too much, keep them a little mysterious, but I would have liked to see them more just because I like those characters so much. I think, like we talked about, spending a little more time with Anakin in that episode would have been fun. But again, I don't want them to exploit that space, so I'm okay with it. Would have liked to have seen Zeb, but we can get that in season 2.
That's the bummer, right?
Just like K2SO, we're supposed to get in season 2 of Andor. You got to wait on Zeb, so that's fine. And then the only other thing I had written down was just more background on what the fuck Ezra was up to the last 10 years. But I think, like you said, we're going to get that when we get a reveal of exactly what the fuck he's up to, if there is something else in the plot there, because then we'll know exactly what he's been doing that whole time.
Do you think that they're going to pick up the story like in Ahsoka 2? Are they going to keep bouncing back between galaxies? Or I was thinking, now that they've established this, maybe Ahsoka season 2 kind of focuses on Peridea and that whole story and what's going on and how they get home, right? And maybe they'll do like a Rebels spinoff, or they'll do something where we see what's going on at the same time with those characters. Or maybe some of that gets tied into Mando, right? And then when we go into the movie, they all collectively join.
I could see them doing exactly. I could see them doing it where they spend a lot of time on Peridea, but they've got to show you what's going on with the New Republic. We got to know what's going on with Hera. Ezra's back. Thrawn's there.
Yeah.
That's those are major characters that we have to see what's going on with them. So I think you could certainly do the old original trilogy swipe feature to go back and forth between those two plots, because I think you have to know what's going on there. But I do think you are going to spend some time in Peridea and get more out of that before they just leave. I don't think it's going to be like they make the jump back with Purgles in the second episode of the season.
Right. Any
other kind of, I guess, bold, if you want to call it that, predictions? We talked about, Ezra being evil. I was thinking, well, shit, if Ezra is evil, we've got to get some sort of Sabine Ezra tension-filled battle at some point where all of a sudden they start fighting or something.
I think that would put a lot into the characters, right? Because then she feels responsible for things. She feels responsible for sending him back there, but also like now she tried to rescue him once, but now she has to rescue him in a different way.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's got the hots for Dark Ezra. Maybe that's what seals the deal.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see the man in you now. Well, and I was also thinking about just how far the season 2 timeline is going to run, and how crazy you're going to get. Are we going to have like a big death in that? Because you're building up to the movie where I think you would have some big moments in it. But at the same time, there's a lot of characters here that we don't see later. And I know people always complain about that. Well, where were they? Where was Ahsoka during the original trilogy and all this stuff? But there's certain characters you're not going to see later. And so you wonder, are we going to get like a big impactful death, or is that going to be saved for the movie?
I haven't thought about that. Like Ahsoka dies in the end of season 2.
That or
the rebels live on.
You could technically have Ezra die. You could have, Hera die. Well, you wouldn't have Hera die. You could have Sabine die. Like, there's a lot of people that you could have perish that would be huge moments. I mean, fuck, they killed Kanan, spoiler, in Rebels. So it's possible.
Well, here's the thing also is like, I don't think the movie is the end. I think the movie is the end of this story arc, right? But we're still in, what do we got, 20 years before The Force Awakens?
Yeah, no, there's still time. I'm just thinking the movie is going to have some batshit big moments in it.
Right.
And so I'm wondering how much you get in season 2 of Ahsoka. You obviously have Mando season 4 coming up as well to do some stuff, but I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out exactly how far that timeline is going to go forward, because when that movie is actually going to take place, in the timeline.
Yeah, and also like we got Mando season 4, but I would imagine they can squeeze in another season of Mando before the movie.
Oh, I think they have to. Oh, you think you mean Mando season 5?
Yeah, we've got 3 years. Was it
4? I think it's season 4.
2026 or 27? They were saying the Filoni movie.
26 is the first one, I think, which is not the Filoni movie, right? So
which is the Rey movie.
Yeah, so Filoni is 27, is that right?
Yeah, right.
Or 28, I can't remember now. Those things switch all the time. The only other thing I was going to ask is, are we going to see any other polls from like Aftermath or Heir to the Empire or anything like that? Like we talked about Sabaoth, or however you say that. Paleon has already been touched on in Mando, so we could see him because he's obviously a big Thrawn guy. Another one I always throw out is, I think this was in the Aftermath series, is Rey Sloane. I don't know if you read that series, but there's that Admiral Rey Sloane, and she's she's an intriguing character in that book because she is like Empire through and through, but then starts to kind of see how the shit's operating in a different way, and she starts to kind of like has to kind of maneuver around that stuff. She's like interacts with Wedge. There's a whole storyline with Rey Sloane, which I think could be cool.
It sounds familiar. I read the first. I don't know if I finished the first book, but that character sounds familiar.
She's a big dick in the Empire, like when all the Emperor stuff goes down and he dies and all that stuff. Like she's big on that. So she would be an intriguing character to bring into play if they wanted to do that. Last question. Who do you recast Baylan with? You said we joked about Clooney.
Yeah.
But the internet is full of hilarious guesses.
Oh, is it? I haven't
looked. I mean, you've heard like people have said Liev Schreiber. They've said Gerard Butler. They've said Carl Urban. Russell Crowe, I saw.
Yeah, I actually have Russell Crowe on my list. I think because I think that he's too big of a star too, but he does have that presence. If he comes off more, younger Russell Crowe, badass, not fucking Zeus and Thor, Russell Crowe.
All right. Yeah, I mean the other I saw Graham McTavish. You know who that guy is? He's a Scottish actor. He's like bald headed with a big beard.
Okay. No, I don't know who
That was one that was thrown out. I saw Clive Owen, which I'm like, I love Clive Owen.
He's too skinny, though.
I don't think it would work. It doesn't quite work.
No.
Yet he'd have to bulk way the fuck up.
There's Richard Armitage.
Armitage?
Yeah, look him up. He looks like if they grade him up, and he might be gray now, but he's English actor. He did the voice of Wolverine in the Wolverine podcast. I think that was him.
Okay. Yeah, I know that name.
He's a good actor. J.K. Simmons.
Oh, you think?
He's a fucking awesome actor.
He's an awesome actor, but I
Yeah.
don't know if I see him as the Baylan role. That's an interesting poll.
I don't see him being so subdued like Baylan. You know,
right?
But he's
right.
Yeah, he'd have to make it his own. But he's got the presence and the, you know, he almost gets more powerful as he gets older, like with his acting and his, you know what I mean? Like he's got a presence on him that would be different. But I would not argue that. But really, here's a poll, and I don't know the guy's name. I'll have to look it up. I think it's like something Sersney or something. But he played Kittredge in the Mission Impossible movies.
Oh yeah, it's of course.
He's got the gray beard and everything. He gets killed in one of the Scream movies. He's a therapist, but he kind of has that look. But he's an intense actor. Have you seen the new Mission Impossible?
I have not seen the new Mission Impossible, but he's always good in that shit. Like he was also in Clear and Present Danger. He was a fucking prick in that.
Yeah,
he's very good at that particular role. I'm trying to think if that fits with the Baylan thing. It might. I'll have to think about that one. I even saw somebody throw out Sean Bean, and I was like, well, Baylan's probably gonna die at some point, so might as well get him. He has to look at the script every time he gets one and goes, again? Why do I have to always die? Come on, man. Yeah, we'll see. I think the debate keeps happening as far as like, oh, should they do it? Should they not do it? I think you have to do it. Like, I don't. Yeah. The great example people keep giving is Gandalf, or not Gandalf. Jesus Christ. What's the dude in Harry Potter?
Oh, Dumbledore. Richard Harris and
then the guy who just died, away. Michael Gambon. Yeah. That was fairly seamless in the end.
Right.
You know? So I think you can pull it off. I think you can do it. I think it's okay to recast rather than trying to somehow fucking digitally recreate him or do whatever you're going to do or do something crazy. Just recast the role. I think it's okay. I don't think you're like, you know, trashing his memory or something by recasting the role. It's too important of a character to not recast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've even seen people say, you know, drop the storyline. This is the fucking storyline.
No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Too big of a story. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be a miss. All right, well, that was kind of all I had. Unless you had anything else on Ahsoka. Oh, sorry.
Nick Offerman.
Well, I've seen that one come up.
Have you?
Yes, and he would. It's hard for me to separate him.
I know.
From the Ron Swanson character. I mean, he was in an episode of Last of Us. And he was really great. He was great in that. I've seen him in other things, and he does well. It's just hard to see him and see Baylan and be like, but I don't know. Swanson. Anything else on Ahsoka?
Nope.
We'll obviously talk about it way more.
Let's not speak of it again until the second season comes out.
Never again. Sorry, it's over. No more Ahsoka talk. All right, let's go to the Maul Bag really quickly. One email in the Maul Bag, and that is from Brown Leader from Hyperspace Heroes. Hello there, boyos. I wanted to contribute to your question of the week via Maul Bag so that hopefully it gets to the minimum 2 required per episode. He gets it.
He does.
He tried, and it sort of worked out in the end with the voicemail. The opening of season 2 of Ahsoka will be as follows. See, I love the fact that because he always has a plot, because he's the one has got thoughts on the book that we're doing, and he just always, and he's the one who had all those characters they created. He always thinks these things really, deeply through. Opens up with a shot of a high-rise building on Coruscant. Then we see Senator and Payne in the exhaust port, Hamato Giono, talking to a holo of his wife. Mrs. Giono is holding a crying baby and chewing Hamato out while he is looking down at the floor. Are you having a wonderful time in Coruscant, dear? While you're there to save the galaxy, you leave me here to raise our children. You know what a whiner little Kaz is. He's driving me crazy. Maybe it is like you are here after all. Oh, she's comparing him to the crying Kaz.
Yeah.
Is the mighty Hamato running the council yet? No? What a surprise. God, she's just shitting all over him. This is hilarious.
I don't like this wife at all. I'll be honest. I've got his back now.
but it kind of works with his character. I should have listened to my father and married that, and then it trails off.
Oh, man.
And on and on and on, while Giono mutters responses like, yes, dear, in a timid voice. He's totally beat down domestically. Oh, fuck. Meanwhile, a protocol droid comes in and is trying to get Giono's attention. Hamato gets a look of rage on his face and yells, what do you want, droid? Senator Solo and Chancellor Mothma are asking when you will be attending the council session that started an hour ago. There are several appropriation bills that are needing a vote. God, he goes so deep on these. Are hilarious. Hamato's wife cuts in with, well, dear, I guess you have to go save the galaxy. You better run along and go do that. And she ends the call. Boy, she is just not nice.
I don't like her.
Giono lets out a and shoves past the protocol droid and leaves the room. Then the camera pans out of the apartment window, across the skyway, and into another window in another high-rise that has line of sight to Hamato's apartment. Chopper is chirping in a happy tone while he disconnects from a holoprojector transmitter.
So he was behind all of it?
Yes. He spins his head around, raises his hands in victory, and then lets out an evil laugh warble. Scene ends and goes to the episode title screen, Part 9, Adventures in Middle-earth.
So this works along with yours. Like the next season, like Chopper's just going to be behind all these little madcap things that are happening.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah, he's pulling the strings. He's the puppet master. Just like driving. But it's all to get back at Giono. He's so fucking pissed
everywhere.
at Giono.
Right.
He's ruining his life. All right, so to the FACPA Answering Machine, we have one voicemail from RFB. Funny thing to note before I get into it is that he has always sent us audio, and there's always a little cleanup I have to do because I'm not sure how he records it, but he said he got a new phone, so he was having trouble. It wouldn't let him record audio. He was like literally asking me like, I don't know how this damn thing works.
What's he got, a flip phone?
It's some like old Android or something. I don't know why he switched to this other phone. But I had to try to do tech support and literally send him like a couple of YouTube clips like, does this work? Does this work? I'm like, I don't know Android phones at all. I'm an iPhone guy. So
Right.
I was trying to help him out. And I'm like, whatever. And I said, and in the end, I was like, it's fine to just send an email. And he's like, and I haven't sent you an email in forever. I was like, well, that's okay. You can. He's like, no, I'll get it working. So then I just got it. I think last night he just sent it. So he got it working. So.
Okay. Well, didn't I see that he joined a podcast, or he does a podcast with someone now? So I'm wondering. Well, I guess if he just want to do it from his phone, but I'm guessing if he does that, he has a microphone and a computer. He could have just sent the file that way.
That's an excellent point, Jay. What's going on,
Yeah.
RFB? You could just record it like a normal audio clip. You could do that. It's not a big deal.
I think he wanted to put you to work.
Yeah, it might have been. All right. Well, let's hear what he has to say.
All right.
Darth Matthias and Jason, that angry ginger guy, for a family.
That's me.
Here with my response to question of the week. So if we are to get a season 2 of Ahsoka, which, yeah, we will. Star Wars don't leave a story like this with threads all over, hanging loose all over.
All right. Who's in the background? Who's listening to him? This is sensitive material, and he's letting people listen in.
I know, because he's not hiding it in any way. He's just speaking freely.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's almost
At first, I was thinking maybe he's in the bathroom stall at work and he's like trying to get this out. Like you got him to figure out how the phone works. So he said, but it sounds like I hear a couple of women in the background. So unless it's like the Ally McBeal bathroom where everyone just goes and shits together.
I do like the idea of him sitting on the shitter and looking through the videos and being like, Eureka! Like he finally figured it out. And somebody's like, what is going on in there? And the next thing they know, you just hear him talking about Star Wars. They're like, he's doing it again.
Guys got like 3 minutes before I wipe my ass and get out of here. So here's my story for the episode.
My break ends in 7 minutes. I got to do this quick.
Yeah.
All right.
Over the place and more questions, and it gave answers. Just a matter of whenever the hell the goddamn studios want to get to it and pay the actors like they've done the writers. And then everybody can get the fuck back to work. That
He's fired up, man.
Very salty. He is clearly, well, because this guy lives for all the Star Wars stuff, and so he's like, if the actors are shut down, I'm not getting my shit. So come on.
Yeah, because like that slows down the podcast content.
It does.
Because like when there's not a show out, he starts bitching because I've only got 3 shows to listen to, then 15. So yeah, he's got to. You know what he's doing? He's projecting his pain, his future pain, because he knows what's coming.
Right, it's a trickle down effect. Exactly. We're trying to RFB. Just so you know, even without the active show, we are going to try to get shows out every week as best as we can. So we will try to help you out there.
be nice. So what opens season 2 with episode 1. Well, the day after Jason Making Star Wars done his episode 8 breakdown review, he put up another stream and had Bespin Bulletin on screen with him. And it's...
Did you say Jason Making Star Wars?
Yeah, so there's this guy, I can't remember his last name, but it's this guy he's the one who always gets these little scoops. And whenever you look at a Bespin Bulletin article, it always makes reference to Making Star Wars as like their source for whatever that scoop is. So he has a live stream that he does on YouTube. I think maybe it's even a couple times a week. I don't know. I've never seen it. And he gets into all this stuff that he hears from behind the scenes or whatever, stuff that's happening with the production. And so RFB's always watching that. That's why he's always like, I don't want to share spoilers and ruin it for everybody, because he eats all those spoilers up.
That's where he's getting all his info.
He gets it all a lot of it from there anyway.
From Making Star Wars or Bespin Bulletin.
Bespin Bulletin, yeah. Which the two sources I check the most when I'm looking for news bits is Star Wars Newsnet and Bespin Bulletin. Those are the two that I check usually first.
And they seem to be on when they put something out.
They usually catch most of it. Star Wars Newsnet is probably a little more cautious. Bespin, I think, takes a little bit wider swings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other friend he does the show with, and a bunch of us in the chat, and folks was kicking around ideas on what they think maybe that is, because right now with studios being assholes, there's no info to be gathered yet. It's still way too early. But I don't do this much, so maybe I'll give this a shot. Just kick around something I had popped into my imagination when I first seen Question of the Week for this week. What if it is that Ahsoka and Sabine and Shin find a Victoria's Secret outlet, and we see the opening shots of them walking out dejected because the owner wouldn't accept New Republic credits?
So hold on. There's a Victoria's Secret outlet mall on Peridea.
Yes. Is it out in the outskirts?
Everyone's trying to get the fuck out. Everyone's trying to get out, but there's a lingerie store.
It makes you wonder where it's located. Is it near the fortress? Is it somewhere off in the outskirts? Is that what Baylan's looking at? It's where it's
He's
like a
looking
mall.
off, like, yeah.
Where all these stores
He's like,
exist.
how do I get away from Thrawn long enough to go over there and just peruse the aisles? Shin needs new panties.
They got a Sparrow there now. Good, because I am fucking starving.
I'm picturing, like, you ever see, it's like a meme or a GIF on the internet where they show, like, that Gothic house. Is it, like, on the beach? And then next to it's, like, this pink house?
I don't think I've seen this.
No, I'll have to look at it. It's always got like, this is whatever, and this is.
I see the comparison.
Put their own thing out all the time.
Right.
But that's why it's like the temple that they're all hanging out at. And then right next door is a pink fucking Victoria's Secret.
Oh, man.
Now, who's going there? He said Shin, Ahsoka, and
Sabine.
Sabine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Lingerie party. They're going to be in there drinking champagne, trying shit on. There's going to be that whole like 80s montage sequence of like trying things on, and then the other two like shaking their head.
I love it.
Or going like, that's the one.
And they got like Fallout Boy in there playing music.
That's all I got.
All right.
And looking forward to what other shenanigans other listeners are going to send. Come keep me company on my work day.
Wait, hold on.
Come sit here.
Oh.
The opening of season 2 was just them going to a Victoria's Secret.
Yes. It's about as good as my Giona one. Well, the funny thing is, he's usually not the one who like throws these crazy ideas out like this. So he's taking a stab here. I appreciate him, trying to fit in with what we usually do with these things.
Like, he's lost his fucking mind with the strike. Like, he's usually real cool and collected, doesn't want to offer any tidbits to Star Wars.
Yeah.
It can be what it wants to be. And now he's like, well, here's my idea. Season 2 opens up with, like, it's a sex store.
He's in a bad place.
They're all getting sexy because they're bored.
He's like, he's thinking, like you said, the trickle down effect of the strike affecting everything and all the way down to his podcast. He's like, I don't want to listen to true crime podcasts. Okay, I'm a Star Wars podcast guy, and you're going to make me delve into other genres, and I don't want to do it. He's mad. All right, he's wrapping up.
Home with me when I'm listening after my work day. Looking forward to next FACPA and the one after that.
And the one after
so
that.
Till then, my friend, my boys, love you. Long live the Empire.
What the?
See you on the radio.
Empire guy.
All right. I'm on board with all of this except for Long Live the Empire.
Well, he's an Empire guy. 501st. He's got all the uniforms. He is an Empire
I
guy.
know.
You're not happy about it. You're not happy.
Well, I'm gonna send him I don't know, something from Coruscant. Some, maybe like a Perrin robe. He can walk around.
Oh, he'll take a picture in that.
In his rustic house, he's wearing this like silk fucking robe with a scarf, his hair in a ponytail. Does he have hair?
I don't. He's always got a hat on. I don't know.
Yeah, his Empire hat.
Well, he usually has the other hat on. It's almost like it almost looks like he's from the 30s or something with that hat. I don't know how you describe that hat.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway,
right,
thank you, RFB. Always appreciate your voicemails. Thanks for figuring it out. Thanks for working the technology to get it to work. Now, we have had a giveaway going. As you said, only show in the known.
Only show to do it.
Only show in the known galaxy that does it.
Right.
So,
and we're not giving away sand, man.
No, we are giving away. The first place person is going to get 3 Black Series characters. It's Ahsoka, Sabine, and Hera. The second place is going to get an Ahsoka mug, and the third place is going to get the Ahsoka book. Do you want to do? We have 120 entries. Do you want to do third, second, first, or first, second, third? What do you want to? How do you want to do it?
Let's do third, second, first.
Okay. I will.
And I want to put this out there now. Our giveaway for the next series when we do one is for the listeners who've listened for a long time. You guys probably sometimes hear that barking dog in the background. I'm going to give it away.
The corpse, stuffed dog.
No. It'll still be alive.
Oh, it's real. Okay.
They can go to their house and bark. Yeah. Less work to clean the recording up because there will be no barking dog.
I thought you were doing some taxidermy over there.
No, I'm not that skilled.
Okay, get your random number generator out. Again, this is for third place. You get the Ahsoka book. And by the way, just a caveat, I will get these things out to you as quickly as possible when I follow up with you. And if you hear your name called, please reach out to us via DM. The Black Series characters might take a little longer because of availability.
And some of them aren't out yet, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Doesn't one of them release in December?
Yeah, some come out like next month or some December. Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. But
okay.
You'll get them eventually. So yeah, pick a number between 1 and 120, and this is third place. You get an Ahsoka book.
All right, here we go. Number 62.
62. If I can get there. No Class Twit is the Twitter handle. That's Matthew Vandeveer. You win. He was a 1-entry guy. Got a book.
Wow.
Good job.
Get
1
a
entry.
book.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny how often 1-entries get it.
Should we buy the book, one of us, and then like sign it and then mail it to the other one and sign it?
Well,
no, this is what we'll do. You get out a piece of paper and sign that and send it to me, and then I'll tape it to the inside of the book and sign it.
It's a dedication.
It'll be a lot cheaper to send. Yeah, it'll be a lot cheaper to send just a piece of paper in the mail than it will be to ship a book.
It would be. Yeah, we'll work on that. Typically, I just send these straight from the source, so it's very quick and easy. But if you want to make it more complicated, you're adding money.
I do.
You're taking more money out of the Petty Cash Fund. All right, second place. This is the Ahsoka mug that you can find on the Disney Store.
Yeah. All right. Number 15.
Oh, high number. Hold on. Oh my God, I'm bad at scrolling. 15, Brown Leader from Hyperspace Heroes podcast. You won the Ahsoka mug. He deserves it. He sends us a lot of stuff.
He does.
That's good for him.
Yeah.
Doing that.
He can. This will help when he's staying up late nights drinking coffee out of his Ahsoka mug.
Yes.
Writing his from a certain point of skew story. That
I
he's
hope he
send in.
showcases it because they do video as well. Do they just put the video out, or is it just maybe they don't put the video out? It's just the audio. I can't remember now. But I was on their show once, and he's definitely drinking some coffee there. All right, finally, the 3 Black Series characters, the number 1 prize. Who gets it?
Number 60.
60. I got to go up. Kano.
Who is that?
It was person who sent in a question of the week answer. Kano, Cunno. So once again, Brown Leader has sent in a lot of stuff, but sorry, Max Rebo, you stuffed the ballot box. Yeah. He was the number 1 entry guy.
Wow.
Laybourne was number 2. Laybourne always misses.
So are we doing the thing that we normally do though? Because are we giving away the number 1 prize to someone who might not listen? Because they have to say, hey, I heard my name on the show.
I think we said we would still give it to them because they did what they were supposed to do and participated, regardless of if they hear the episode or not. But what I will do is when I promote this episode, I will be like, did you win? Go check it out. So I'll wait like maybe a week
Perfect.
Give them
Okay.
time to go find it on their own, and then if they don't get back to me, I'm going to reach out to them and say.
Okay.
So there you
All
go.
right.
There's your 3 winners. Congratulations. Thanks, everybody, for entering all season long. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to whenever the fuck Skeleton Crew comes out. Right, RFB?
Right.
God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we can
What the fuck?
start doing another giveaway. But I think that's all we got for today. Long episode today.
Well, we got, you know what? The distance between shows is going to help us, refill the petty cash fund.
It will,
So.
for sure. I'm going to go start mowing lawns and fucking,
Yeah.
delivering papers and shit.
All right. That's it, I guess, right?
Yep.
So that's our show. Thank you for listening. And until next time,
Laugh it up, fuzzballs.
we have spoken.